Is it possible to make a wrong decision?
There are times that we get in a habit of making decisions in a certain way. And sometimes those decisions take us into extra energy expenditures. We get exhausted, we get tired. We learn how to consciously choose different things. But I don't believe there's any wrong thing that we can do with that. The group has a saying that they love to share with people. They said, you're going to walk through some mud puddles. The secret of walking through a mud puddle is don't stop, keep moving. It's real simple. You're going to pick up what you need to do, and you're going to find yourself at the other side, probably in a better place than you could possibly be if you weren't going through it. So trust yourself.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Ask Julie Ryan Show. It's where we blend spirituality and practicality to help you live a life of purpose and joy. We have Steve Rother with us on the show today. Steve channels a collective of angelic beings he calls the Group. Their messages reached audiences in over 28 countries, appeared in 7 books translated into 18 languages, and has been channeled 5 times at the United Nations. Curious? So am I. I'm going to be asking Steve how he first connected with these angels, what their core teachings are, and most importantly, if they have a message for us today. Please remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends. Now, let's go chat with Steve. Steve, welcome to the show. I'm so thrilled you could join us today.
Thank you, Julie. It's my pleasure, believe me.
Oh my goodness. You channel angels and other spiritual beings that you call the Group. I love that.
Yep.
Who's the Group and how'd you meet them?
Well, I met them one day, actually on my birthday. My wife was into metaphysics. I was not. I used to send her off to her metaphysical meetings, and I would take care of the kids, things like that. So we had a thing going where we started on New Year's Eve in 1995. And I'm always looking for something to do because I don't drink. So New Year's Eve is always a challenge sometimes to find something to do. And she had a metaphysical group that was getting together. So I said, okay, honey, I'll go over to your group. That's fine. I was planning on just kind of nodding my head and smiling a lot and just pretending I knew what they were talking about because I really didn't. But anyway, one thing led to another. We had a great time together. New Year's Eve came. We all hugged and kissed and went home for a short time and met together on the beach in San Diego as the sun rose. And we were supposed to have this wonderful thing where we had listed the night before all the things we wanted to release from 1995 and all the things we wanted to bring into 1996. And we were supposed to tear the thing in half, throw the ones we wanted to release in the bonfire, and everybody was supposed to go ho. And that was, I kind of knew what I was doing. So anyway, we only about 10 people in the morning, early in the morning. I'm hiding in the smoke because there's always a place where you can go in the smoke. So I'm hiding in the smoke, and the leader holds this smudge stick, this kind of burning rope thing, up to the rising sun, and he starts to state his thing, and he stops right there, and he says, I'm being told that Steve needs to go first. So now I'm going, okay, you got me into this one. I'll just go ahead and get it over with. And I go over there, I take this thing, I rip my paper in half, I throw it in the fire. I hold this up and I can't read a thing. All I can read is that I will be a light worker. It wasn't even on the paper.
Wow.
But tears were just flooding down my face. I looked around and everybody's holding their hands up to me, sending me energy. But of course, at the time, I thought it was some metaphysical thing that they were doing that I knew nothing about. So it was kind of an interesting awakening. That is the first time I heard from the group. And it was a really interesting transition after that. And anyway, that was the beginning of the whole process in 1995. So it's been almost 30 years.
So
and quite a ride.
It was interesting after that. Did you hear a voice like sounded like James Earl Jones going, "We are the Group"?
No, they talk. We do a lot of channeling classes, and they basically say there's 5 ways that you can channel. one way is, one way is not easily described, but the others are very simple: clairvoyant, clairsentient, clairaudient, and claircognizant. Well, clairvoyant is when you see things. Clairaudient is when you hear things, like James Earl Jones. And clairsentient is when you basically feel them. But I'm claircognizant, and most people are claircognizant. That's when all of a sudden you know something. You don't know where you knew it from, but you just know it. And I've learned to trust that, of course, and I had to learn how to really handle that and so forth. That I'm very claircognizant. So that's kind of the way it works for me. Very difficult to trust in the beginning. I got into a chat room with some other metaphysical people, which were really supportive. It was wonderful. As a matter of fact, 3 professional channels came out of that chat room. And they were all channeling, Vaiwamas from the 23rd century and all these fancy names that I knew nothing of. And I knew there was a multiple on my shoulder. I knew it wasn't one single entity. And I asked them, who are you? What dimension are you from? What's your names? And they basically refused. They said, we want you to take the message for the love content of the message and not because of any labels placed on it. So eventually I ended up calling them the group. So I'm the one that gave them the name, the group.
You're the one.
Yeah.
Were you
That's kind
thinking
of where it
of
came from.
like the sci-fi movies, Take Me to Your Leader?
Yeah,
There,
exactly.
there's like some aliens coming in from another planet or something. Oh
Well,
my
that's kind of what
goodness.
that's kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting
Yeah.
something very mysterious, and and like I said, all my friends in this chat room were starting to channel. They were starting to come up with their own things and so forth. And I didn't seem to fit. It was really odd, but it worked.
Well, when you're channeling, what happens? Are you cognizant of raising your vibrational level, or just all of a sudden the group shows up and starts talking through you in a different voice, or what happens?
Well, generally, what used to happen is exactly that. I would have to go into really a centered meditation to be able to quiet my mind, to be able to do that and allow them to come in. Now, there's multiple entities. There are 9 of us, and they include me one. So they come in with different kind of personalities. And in the beginning, it was a very ritualistic thing. I've been channeling them for 30 years. They have integrated with me. Now, all I have to do is take a couple deep breaths, step out of the way a little bit, and they come right in. In fact, they're with me all the time. Sometimes I'm driving down the road and point to they'll point to something going on, or they'll point to a road sign, or something, maybe a sign on the road or something of that nature, and they'll just say, pay attention. So I kind of have to take this little energy snapshot, and then later when I'm channeling, they end up taking this really beautiful channel and message around some little thing that they planted in me when I was driving down the road. So they're really with me all the time now. And I still close my eyes, and I open them now and actually do most of my channeling with my eyes open. Sometimes I'll walk around the room if I'm in person in a live event. So there's a lot of things that have kind of integrated over the 30 years I've been channeling them.
It's kind of like learning to drive. And then after 30
You
years of
got it.
driving, you just don't think about, okay, get in the car and I put my seatbelt on and I put my foot on the brake and then I push the on button. You just do it. And
You
I'm
got it.
the same way after communicating with spirit for 30 years too, and doing the work that I'm doing. When the group is channeling through you, Steve, do you remain conscious? Do you know what they're saying? Do you remember what they're saying?
Most of the time I do. Uh, I do a lot of private sessions as well. The private sessions I don't seem to remember. There's
Mhm.
just too many of them and too many details and so forth. So I don't seem to remember those. Most of the time, I'm taking a breath into my lungs, pushing the air against my vocal cords, not quite knowing what I'm going to say. But the moment I start to do that, it all comes in, and I'm able to. I call myself a translator. That's really kind of what I'm doing more than anything else, as I'm translating this energetic form that comes through. That's exactly what it feels like.
I was asked recently, and I've been asked this many times, well, if you're communicating with perhaps a deceased loved one, I do that all the time. We'll talk to a deceased loved one's spirit in heaven. And I had somebody recently say, well, they didn't speak English. They're not, you're not going to understand what they say. And I said, no, spirit, spirit communication comes in, as I perceive it, in numbers. And then it's translated into our brains in a way that we can understand and we can convey the message. So I said, it doesn't matter that I don't speak Russian because it's going to come to me in a language I do understand so I can convey the information to you. Do you find the same thing or do you find yourself speaking in Russian?
No, I don't. I only speak English. I'm trying to learn Dutch, but it's very difficult. But the reality is the way the group talks about it is they say that we are perfect spirits. And when we come here to planet Earth, we basically, there's a rule on planet Earth that perfection is not allowed. So we have to divide ourselves into multiple dimensions. The group gives the illustration of 11 dimensions, and the 12th dimension being the higher self, which connects all the other dimensions and connects you to home. So we kind of hide a little bit of our perfection in each one of those dimensions. When a spirit goes home, all those dimensions come together and the spirit is perfect again. The spirit can speak any language they want to. They can communicate in any way they want. And it's pretty amazing at that point. So I do know that people have talked in tongues, but I also think that there's a lot of mystique around many of the old energy ways of doing some of that. And today it's very practical. It's very direct. It's very quick, and we don't necessarily need to go through all the things that we used to have to go through.
Right. I'm going to ask you to channel here in a little bit a message
Sure.
if the group has a message for us. And in the meantime, who comprises the group? You say that there are multiple entities. Are they angels? Are they spirit guides? Are they deceased loved ones? Who makes up the group?
It's kind of challenging because that they have told me is that they're from the angelic realm.
Okay.
Now
What does
they've
that mean?
also well, that's exactly my question. What exactly does that mean? They said that they were from the family of Michael in the way that we put it, and yet they've also told us that many times we have seen, especially in early humanity, and humanity has started over several times. When it started over, we've had help. We've had help from some of our space brothers, from some of the entities that they actually call our parental races. And many times we call those beings angels. We call those beings God sometimes. So we have misinterpreted a lot of things along the way. The group has not been, they try to keep it away from identifying exactly who or what they are because that's not the important part. They want to be able to just talk to us about how we can get along, how we can have a fulfilled life, how we can step into the higher vibrations of the fifth dimension, and how we can live in love. And that's the main focus that they work with, rather than exactly describe who they are. But there are 9 entities in the group. I'm one. 7 of them have identified themselves. There's still one that hasn't. And this has happened over a period of years. So there's 2 of them that are female form. One of them is Merlia. She is the feminine form of Merlin, the magic. The other one is Zandria, who basically carries feminine empowerment, all about the feminine rising and balancing the masculine on the planet. And then 3 others balance between masculine and feminine. They don't call themselves either one. So the others are masculine. There's the keeper of time. There's Ilra, who talks in a funny voice and makes all kinds of jokes. So there's different entities with kind of different personalities. They all talk the same. When I'm channeling even one of them, they won't say I say this. They'll say we will say this. They talk they talk as a collective. So it's been kind of confusing. My editors have gone crazy over that, by
I
the way.
bet. I bet. I can only imagine. When they're communicating with you, do you believe that it's big spirit, God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it, talking through them? I I always hear we're a fractal of the divine. We're made in the image and likeness of God, and God is just a term in our Judeo-Christian
Sure.
culture.
No,
But God is source, spirit, universe, whatever we wanna call it. Do you believe that that's the conduit, is it's coming from source and it's coming through these entities that make up the group?
yes. Yes, I absolutely do. My greatest critic was my wife.
Mm,
She was
interesting.
a she well, she was in metaphysics. I was a general contractor. I lived in a different world. Every word of every sentence started with F. It was unbelievable the change that I had to make for this. So when I started channeling, she was extremely skeptical, and she was a recovering Catholic on top of that. So she had all these imprints about who it was. And then after a while, she started listening to the material that was coming out, and
Mm.
she was very much aware that it wasn't me, and very much aware that I had no current knowledge or past knowledge of the things that I was saying. And she started to really understand that it was coming through that. What the group likes to present is another view. They
Mm.
don't like to tell people they have the only view. They don't want followers. They want to empower people to walk alongside of us. It's a little bit different than the way most of the people that come to our events and can watch our seminars are healers and teachers in their own right. So we have, or people that don't know that they're healers or teachers yet and are kind of awakening with that process. So that's the idea of what they want to do. They want to give us a different view. And the other view is from the other side. It's from the other side of the veil where they are complete. And again, their spirits are perfect. They're not here on Earth. As a matter of fact, most of them have never incarnated in planet Earth. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah. Let's change directions for a minute, Steve. Do you come from a spiritual family? Do you have any spiritual background other than you were married to a Catholic, or you are married to a
I
woman who
was.
was raised Catholic?
She passed away, so about
Oh,
4 years ago.
I'm sorry.
So, yeah, thank you. She, she graduated, so that's kind of what happened. She was done, so she did
Are
well.
you in communication with her?
I I I'm not in I don't channel her. I don't channel her the same way I channel the rest of the group, but she makes herself known all the time. Sometimes through blinking lights that are going on and off, sometimes through just the incredible synchronicities that take place that remind us that she's here and that she's watching and that she loves what we do. Yeah.
Okay.
So she's definitely here. I was raised as a Christian in a Protestant Methodist religion. I again was raised in that religion. I've always believed in the principles of the religion. I just sometimes have difficulty with the story. So that was kind of where I kind of moved a little bit away from religion in general, organized religion in that fashion. But the group comes in with pretty much the same type of energies and pretty much the same things. So again, a different view.
When you think back to, I think you said it was 1996-ish when they first came in, and then to today, can you give us a kind of a summary of what the trajectory has been for you from coming out of the smoke at the beach to where you are now?
It has all been about empowerment for them. And I have gotten pretty good at trusting it, which was the hard part for me. That took years for me to fully trust it. My greatest fear was that I would stand on stage, and many times we had, 500 people, 1,000 people even that were watching us. My greatest fear is that I would stand on stage and they wouldn't be there. They wouldn't, that is not even a thought of mine anymore. So I have evolved again. There's been a lot of integration that has happened between me and the group. And many times, just when I'm talking to somebody, they'll kind of chime in. I don't typically say, hey, the group's saying this, but sometimes I'll say, what happened to you when you were 12? Something took place that might be affecting you here today, and type of situation. And although I'm not a traditional medium like you are, Julie, the reality is sometimes they'll 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 take me into it and they'll say, tell me about your dad. Tell me about, grandma or somebody. And then we find out, of course, that she just passed a few months ago and she's trying to reach them and so forth. So it all kind of blends together in that way. But mostly I would have to say that I have evolved into an integration level where they're actually a part of me and I'm a part of them. And that took years.
Have the players in the group changed, or are they all the same as they were when they first came in 1996?
They're the same as they were, and they came in 1996. They did not introduce themselves as individuals. They
Uh-huh.
always talked as a collective. That happened about 7 or 8 years ago. They started giving me, no, it's longer than that, probably about 10, 12 years ago. They started giving me individual personalities. And the first one was the keeper of time. He came in and I started speaking in this deep English language. He gave me an image of himself as kind of Sean Connery with a long gray beard and, type of thing. So he gave me kind of I have mental images of all of them. So I guess I am a little clairvoyant, but for the most part, that's not typically how they communicate with me. But that's when they started coming in and bringing those different aspects of it.
It's been my experience, and what I teach is that spirit's gonna communicate with us in a way that's gonna be easy for us. It
Correct.
depends on how we learn. A visual learner may see things before somebody who's kinesthetic or
Correct.
auditory, and we all get what I call divine downloads, which is that you just know. It's in your head, and it's there out of the blue. So when after they first came in on the beach and you were a contractor, what was the trajectory of that? Were they talking to you in your day-to-day life? When did it come to the point where you started doing this as a career, or did you do this as a
Uh,
career?
well, it happened very magically. It was scary because here I was supporting a family, two young boys, dog and a cat, the whole 9 yards. And it was really a challenge because my contracting business started to close. When you're a contractor, you bid jobs and you get some jobs and then you miss some and you get some other ones. I kept missing jobs and missing jobs and missing jobs. I'd lower my price, still missed the jobs and missed the jobs. It became obvious I wasn't supposed to be doing that anymore. So after about a year of really trying to revive that business, I closed it. In the meantime, I'm having these conversations online with people, and people started wanting to have private sessions with me. That kind of started the professional side. And I started doing it right off the bat. And, um, you know, the typical things that you would do. I gave, I think my first sessions were $33 for 90 minutes. So it was, I did everything I could to try and give, and wasn't able to make a living, of course, doing that. But very quickly, things started turning around, and I wrote my first book. And in the year 2000s, when I wrote the first book, and it was published in 18 languages. So that opened the door all over the place. My wife and I started traveling. Every month, we were in a different country, and we would go for 2 weeks and then come back for the last 2 weeks. Uh, and so our lives changed very drastically after that.
Do you find that the group comes in with different messages in different parts of the world, or is it all a consistent message?
The messages seem to be the same, but it's like you said, they will talk to people in to what they can understand. And they've told me before that I don't bring through all the messages. If they if that concept has never been in my brain and I can't translate it, they'll bring it in through someone else. I'm not the only one that channels. We the group actually says we all channel, but we call it different things. Uh, we, so anyway, That's what they said. They said, you're not going to be an expert at everything. Don't try to be. We're just going to try and bring you things that can help the people that you're working with in that particular situation, in that seminar, or wherever it is that you're working.
You have spoken in front of the United Nations 5 times, sir.
Yes.
What happened? How'd that come about? I wanna hear the details on that.
In the very beginning of the events, we started to travel. We were asked to go to Holland and Belgium, and our host, Denmark too. And our host called us up and she said, "Would you, we're being asked if you can go to Vienna." I said, "Well, I've never been to any of those places." So that was kind of interesting. And then a lady called me and she said, "I'm the one that asked that you come to Vienna. While you're here, would you mind speaking at the United Nations?" And I yelled in the other room. I said, "Hey, Barbara," I thought it was a joke. I said, "Barbara, we're being asked to speak at the United Nations." And I wrote her back and I said, "Of course." Things worked out. Basically, it's a group that's all about empowerment of the employees of the United Nations. And it existed in Vienna. I was there 3 times presenting and channeling live. And then we were asked to do it in New York at the headquarters twice. So I've been able to do it 5 different times, and very blessed, very blessed. And they're just like everybody else. They're all looking for answers. If you can give them something that can empower them, something that can help them see things from a different perspective, they're wide open to it. It's that simple.
I think that's just remarkable that an organization like that asks somebody to come in and channel spiritual beings for their employees. That's just unheard of, I would imagine. How did they speaking of unheard of, how did they even find out about you? Was there a connection that facilitated you going there?
I was I was writing what I call the Beacons of Light, which is basically a monthly channel that we send out. I'm still sending it out. It's been 30 years. So we send out the Beacons of Light. We found out that the Beacons of Light was being translated into several languages and actually circulating around inside the United Nations in Vienna. That's how they found out about us. I wasn't supposed to say that back then because that's not appropriate to use. They don't want people circulating things inside of their sacred energy of the United Nations. But that's what happened. And we were asked to do that. Once another group that didn't know about the group over here found out about it too, and they read my book, my first book, they asked me to come there too. So it was amazing, amazing.
Were you asked not to use the word channel or that these are angelic beings and just present like, here are some things that can help your life? Or were you just given free reign to do whatever you wanted to do?
We were given free reign.
That's
The only
remarkable.
the only thing I wasn't allowed to do was film it because
Mm.
we tried to take the camera with us wherever we could and film it. We were allowed to record the audio, but we were not allowed to film in the United Nations. So they wouldn't allow that. That's the only restriction that we had. So they were incredible. Wonderful people. Absolutely wonderful people.
I bet. What was the message that the group delivered to the UN employees?
Well, we basically did it 5 different times. So those messages were on our website for years, about what it was. One of them was in particular about, we were in Vienna where the Atomic Energy Agency is housed. And several scientists from the Atomic Energy Agency came and asked questions to the group live in channel. And we published some of those answers. I'm not sure I completely understood the answers, but I think they did. So it was very, it wasn't technical because although I'm very technical, I didn't understand anything about quantum mechanics or quantum physics at that point in my life. I do now, but I didn't then. So I didn't really understand everything that I was saying, but they were talking about finding order in everything, including chaos. They said there's order everywhere. And if there isn't, sometimes your brain makes it up to give you the illusion that it is. Now, with the study of neuroplasticity in the brain, they're validating a whole bunch of things that the group said way back then.
That was my next question was, do they give information that perhaps pertains to current day and also future events that are forthcoming?
They try to stay out of too much of that because we're on the planet of free choice. And we always have that opportunity when they do say something of that nature. They do say that we've passed the line, that we're not going to be able to stop global warming for quite some time now because of the situations that are going on. And yet it is solvable. They always tell us that we're in charge and that we can change things and we can resolve things. Um, they really try to stay away from the major predictions. We did that for a while, but it's somewhat of a trap because the idea is to empower people to make the change. And when they make the change, then they turn around and say, well, you were wrong about that. So in a lot of ways, it doesn't work the way that we had hoped it to work. So they talk about things. One of the things they mentioned recently, they said there's going to be something taking place at CERN, which is the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland that goes underground, where they're smashing particles together to find out about life. And they said something will be happening at the end of April. Well, it turns out it happened 5 days ago. We just found out about it. They have actually discovered that they do believe that there is proof for multidimensionality, which is exactly what the group has been talking about. So we'll see where this goes from here. It's right at the infancy stage of doing that, but there are some new things predicting. And many times the group will predict that type of a situation and talk about it. But we are definitely in times of change. We're here, and I do believe that that's why a lot of light workers are here. We're here to hold the energy and to make these changes comfortably instead of difficult. And all we have to do is hold hands. That's the whole nature of it. Instead of separating and pointing fingers and things of that nature, we have to find out the ways that we are alike instead of the ways we are different. And that's the big key that they're working with now.
What's multidimensionality mean to you?
Well, we have two different types of dimensionality. You have the collective dimensionality that is moving through the dimensional realms. In other words, first dimension being unity, second dimensions where we got imprinted with duality, where we got imprinted with our egos. Third dimension is where we have been living in a field of contrast. We see things as up, down, good, bad, right and wrong, love and fear. The fifth dimensional reality is where we're moving. The group actually says fifth dimension is already here, but we're still waking. We're conscious creators. So we wake up every day and we create the third dimension inside the fifth dimension. So we basically have to learn how to do that. So that's the collective form of dimensionality. The multidimensionality, which is basically us, is that there are 11 different parts of your spirit having different experiences in different realms. Some of them here on Earth, right next to you, and yet many of them in different dimensions. Science does not talk about the universe anymore. They're talking about the multiverse. They're where they're coming across with the same thing, especially in astrophysics. And they're talking a lot about multidimensionality in different ways. The group gives the illustration of 11 different dimensions, the 12th dimension being the higher self, which connects them all. But Julie, if you ever go to bed at night and you have an extremely vivid dream and it's you, but you're married to somebody else, or you have different children, or you're working in a different area or something of that nature, the group actually says we sometimes jump dimensions when we sleep. And we have experiences of those other dimensions, sometimes even when we're sleeping. So that's what they're talking about. And the walls between dimensions are starting to fade. We're actually doing a seminar called Multidimensional Healing, which is about being able to heal ourselves by being in contact with the other dimensions of us.
Several thoughts on that last few
Please.
sentences. Number one, I've heard from Spirit a bazillion times that we do live multiple lifetimes concurrently. And that makes my head want to explode as just a
Me
mere
too.
mortal because I'm going, what? How does that work? And so I just go to the place, Steve, where I think, okay, I don't understand this, but when I get back into pure spirit form, when I'm in heaven, then it'll be clear to me. So I just stay with, is it feasible? Yeah, it's feasible. Do I understand it? No, but we'll get there. That's number one. I agree with the whole astral travel thing and all of that we do when we sleep. And it's my perception. I'd love to hear your take on this, that our brains and our energy frequency resets when we sleep at night because our brains rest and we go back to the factory preset vibration of spirit because we're not running around busy and worried and, figuring out how are we going to get this done? How are we going to pick up the kids? How are we going to get dinner made and all of those different things or whatever's going on at work. And then lastly, a lot of the work that I do is healing work. And I believe it's spirit working through me and with me to help that person facilitate healing. And I know I'm in different dimensions when I'm doing that, but I'm awake and I'm cognizant and I'm completely aware of what's happening. And spirit uses these just hilarious at times visuals and analogies to give us a human frame of reference. Like I may tell you your elbow looks like whipped cream or something crazy, but you can picture that from your human perspective. So I believe we're already in it. I know I'm in it. I play in it every day when I'm working with clients or doing a show, one of my call-in shows. So yeah, I think it's here. What is the difference between the fifth dimension and the third dimension? I hear the fifth dimension, and I'm of the age where I'm hearing the age of Aquarius, from the fifth dimension, the singing group. But
We are
what is the
we
fifth
are
dimension?
still at the
I hear all these
we're
people
still at the
talk about,
beginning of the
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I hear all these people talk about the fifth dimension. I'm like, what is the fifth dimension?
Well, it's simply a higher realm of vibration.
Okay.
One of the ways that they talk about this to try and bring it in is they say the universe is actually based in threes. Now we see it as twos. We have two hands, two arms, two nostrils, etc. So we live in a field of duality. We see things because of contrast. You're seeing me because I'm different than the background. But in reality, there's three of almost every aspect. Nikola Tesla knew this. Almost all of his work was based in threes. His 369 ratio, that was his favorite saying. If you know the basis of 369, you know the secrets of the universe. So basically, they're trying to share some of this with us, even relationships. We think of relationships as two people being in love, but there's always a third leg of that relationship, the thing that brings them together, the commonalities that they have, things of that nature. So that's kind of living in the fifth dimension, is seeing things from a larger perspective than the limiting perspective that we've learned to look at them growing up in our reality. It's stepping into a higher vibrational state. I wish I could explain it easily. It was extremely confusing for me as well. I did not understand what they were talking about. I hear other people, other channels talking about the fifth dimension all the time. And the group has mentioned that as well. For the longest time, they didn't actually use the words fifth dimension. They simply said you're moving into a higher vibrational state. And if you can learn to live there and anchor it, you can solve all the world's problems, including the earth problems that you're having. So they were basically telling us we can live in a higher vibrational state. And now we gave up. We use the fifth dimension because everybody, other people seem to understand that that's a different realm. Biggest challenge about the fifth dimension is people think there's going to be a date where everything changes. That's not what happens. You talked about the age of Aquarius. Yes, it was a fifth
Yeah.
dimensional singing group that did that, the fifth dimension. But the reality is the age of Aquarius is still at the beginning stages. It takes hundreds of years to move into that realm in astrology. So the reality is the same is true with the fifth dimension. We're moving slowly. The group says that the more that we can anchor new fifth dimensional rules, in other words, looking at the way we are alike instead of the way we are separate, figuring out ways to empower the people around you. The best way to live in an empowered society is to figure out how to empower all the people around you, the people you love, the people you work with, figure out ways of doing that. And some of the tools that they give in our classes are all about fifth dimensional, anchoring the fifth dimension in different ways. So that's kind of the words we use now.
Well, and it's part of the zeitgeist because so many people have used it that it's now something that people understand. Is it that the earth and our universe as we humans understand it continues to evolve and we're just coinciding with the age of Aquarius right now? Or is there some kind of a concerted effort from the spirit realm to help us move into the age of Aquarius, quote, fifth dimension?
Right. I don't know. And those are the greatest words that every teacher can use is I don't know. What I can tell you about it is that if you look at, we used to, as children, we used to look at the sky and see all the stars out there. Well, now with the help of the James Webb Telescope, we're finding out those stars are actually galaxies and that there are so much energy out there, so many possibilities of other life in different ways that we never understood before. So we have different concepts and being able to see things in totally different ways now. And I think this is all part of it. Of all of that, the group says Earth has something no other place has, and that's free choice, free will. Almost every other planet that has life has had some sort of pre-direction, some sort of pre-focus or basically a path in front of them. We do not. Now, we've had to start life over a few times here. We're on there. Basically planet Earth is about to enter its fifth extinction event if we're not careful. So we've had to start over several times. Mayan calendar talked about the fourth world and so forth to be able to do all those things. But all the eyes of the universe are basically upon us because we are the great experiment of spirit, of having this free will, of being able to, the group says you're playing a game of hide and seek. It's God searching for himself, looking for herself. That's simple. So that's probably the best way I can describe it.
Well, say more about the free will because there are people who have there are schools of thought and people who espouse this that say, we come in, we have a mission of what we want to explore and experience in this lifetime. And so we choose our parents, we choose when we're born, where we're born, to whom we're born. So our lives can have a trajectory that will help us explore and experience that. And as we explore and experience it, free will comes in. Is it your understanding, Steve, that the free will is how we choose to explore and experience it? Or is the free will, okay, I've explored this enough. Now I'm going to come up with a new thing that I want to explore?
I do believe
Or
that
all of the above?
I think it's all of the above, actually. I think we do. The group tells this elaborate story of how we sit around the big table, they call it, and we make these contracts and we ask this person to be our first love in high school and this person to be our best friend. And at some point, will you fall in love with my best friend so I can learn? We basically set these things up and we set up these contracts that we do. And yet all contracts are optional. We don't have to fulfill them once we get here. They're a way that we can we can work with and learn how to complete energy and learn lessons that we're working on. But of course, we put on the veil and we can't remember our past lives. We don't remember sitting around the big table. We don't remember the contracts we made, but yet we have those opportunities to do that. So one of the biggest pieces we can do is to understand that empowerment comes from responsibility. So the first thing we do is we take responsibility for being where we are right now. Every choice that I've made has put me where I am. So I'm not going to blame somebody else. Or I'm not going to say this is an environment or this is because of this. but this is where I am. What can I learn from this? How can I move forward? How can I gain that? And that's kind of the approach we try to take with that. I don't know
What
if I answered your
Yeah,
question or if
you
I got
did. No, I
sidetracked there.
love that. I love that
Okay.
empowerment is responsibility. I think that's a quotable quote. Absolutely. When we hear people say, well, you have a set exit point of when you're going to depart this earthly realm. What's your take on that? What have you heard from the group about that? That we have a series of exit points or we have a specific exit point, or how does that
I
come
don't think
through?
we have a specific exit point. I think there are times when we have learned our lessons or the physical body is wearing out and we can no longer function in different ways. But the group also says that we're in multiple dimensions and that we're all born in the same instant and we have to leave in the same instant. There's every time I've studied NDIs, near death experiences, the person is usually met by someone and they're told they have to go back. It's not time. Well, that's not a predetermined time frame. It's that the other dimensions aren't ready to go. And sometimes that causes a little bit of situation. So I don't think it's entirely up to us when we want to die. We are multidimensional, so we all have to leave at the same time. Sometimes over here, one of them's going to get hit by a car, and one of them here is going to have cancer, and all these different ways of exiting the physical body. But we all basically have to leave at the same time. But it is, again, a bit confusing the way the group talks about it. But no, we don't. And when we are healthy, we're healthy in all dimensions. When we're really vibrant, it spreads to all dimensions. So we have opportunities to rebuild ourselves. To as we get older, we don't have to lose brain power. We get lazy, is what the group says. There are things we can do to activate the brain, to rebuild the brain cells, to do things in different ways, and to basically rejuvenate not just your dimension, but all of your dimensions. So
Mhm.
I don't think there's a set time.
That's what I hear from spirit. I've heard that many, many times. We decide when we
I do.
go. But that makes sense to me that it's a collective effort if, in fact, we are in multi dimensions concurrently, if you will. A couple more questions, and I want you to
Sure.
bring in the group. It seems like midlife is often when we experience a heightened interest in spirituality. Is there an energetic reason why more people are awakening in their 50s, 60s, and beyond?
Yes, we put some of the other stuff aside. When I was in my 30s, I was interested in building. I was interested in building my business at the time. I was a contractor. I was interested in building my family, of doing things with my family and things of that nature. So my focus was there. When we get a little bit older, we start to realize what is really important and we start searching for deeper meaning. On the other hand, the children that are coming in today, and I've had the blessing of being able to work with many of them. Sometimes I'll tell their parents something and they'll wrestle with it. They'll have a hard time grasping it. I'll have to really explain it. I'll say the same thing to a 9-year-old child and they go, I know that. I understand that. So I don't think the kids need it in the same way that the older people need it. That's one of the things that I think, and also the just the maturity level. The maturity level lets us put aside the rat race for a little while and really search on on connecting to our spirit and our own soul.
Seems to me that the kids coming in are more advanced. I know plenty of 2-year-olds that can't talk in sentences yet, but they know how to use an iPad and an iPhone and all of that, and I'm thinking, "Okay, what's up with that?" They use it way better than I do, and they navigate it like they've been doing it for decades. It's
That's
really
true.
fascinating how that works, and I believe that it's just what we experience and what we learn then just transfers to them, and it's like a jumping off point, and then they go even further than where we are, which is an interesting concept to parents who believe that we're supposed to teach our children, and yet our children are the ones that teach us just as much, if not more so.
I'm going to go back to Crosby, Stills and Nash now. teach your children. It's all about the children teaching you as much as they can. I also happen to study the brain quite a bit. Your brain actually changes physiologically with every experience and every thought you have, which is part of the reason we love to meditate. We love to center ourselves. We love to have the activations that we do at our seminars. They love to get lost in that because it actually changes the physiology of the brain a little bit. When that takes place, that physiology and that brain structure and those cell structures are actually passed down genetically. So that's one of the reasons that children today seem to adapt into, especially technologies, they seem to adapt into the technologies much easier than any other way of being able to do that.
I agree. Do you think that people fear missing their calling or their life's purpose? And if so, how do they figure out what it is?
Well, that's one of the biggest questions we have. We do a live Q&A every, kind of like you do. We do live questions and answers on YouTube. And one of the big questions we have is, how many more contracts do I have? Where am I at? Where's my life path? Where am I supposed to be? And usually the group says, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Thank you very much. And here's some opportunities that you can look down this path. You can look down this path, but you have to decide. This is your free will, your free choice. You have to choose where you're going to be and where that's going to be. But that is an anxious point for all of us. We want to know that we're on path. We want to know where we are. We'd love to be able to measure exactly what level of the ladder we're on, and it's not doable. We can't really do that. I guess the biggest part about this is, are you smiling most of the time? If you're smiling most of the time, you're on your path. It's real simple.
I love
And so, yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of
I
a
love
difficult
that.
question.
God, how simple. And I think we just overcomplicate the crap out of stuff, don't
We
we?
do. We
Oh
do.
my
We
gosh.
overthink it.
When when somebody's making a decision, it's my thought that there's never a wrong decision or a
Correct.
wrong path because we can get to wherever we're gonna go. Maybe it's a circuitous route, but we're still headed towards whatever it is we wanna explore and experience. And then I also think we have unlimited lifetimes that we can choose to come back. So it's
Correct.
like we're never finished because
That's
we
right.
go back to heaven and what do? We create something else we wanna come back and explore and experience. And
Exactly.
so is it possible to make a wrong decision?
I don't think so. There are times that we get in a habit of making decisions in a certain way. And sometimes those decisions take us into extra energy expenditures. We get exhausted, we get tired. We learn how to consciously choose different things. But I don't believe there's any wrong thing that we can do with that. Um, the group has a saying that they love to share with people. They said, you're going to walk through some mud puddles. The secret of walking through a mud puddle is don't stop, keep moving. It's real simple. You're gonna pick up what you need to do, and you're gonna find yourself at the other side, probably in a better place than you could possibly be if you weren't going through it. So trust yourself.
And so when somebody's serving a life sentence in prison because they've killed another person, and then we say, well, there are no wrong decisions, what does the group say to something like that?
It's entirely possible that both of the people, the person he killed and himself, made that contract before they came in. And it may be that he is carrying a message for the other people in prison. We don't know. There's all these potential that can do that. The challenge we get into is we judge people by their situations and think that they made wrong decisions. I do believe that we are responsible. We have to control ourselves. We have to control our impulses. We have to be able to blend the head and the heart together as one as we walk through life. But it is a challenge, and sometimes people react. Sometimes people carry traumas. Sometimes people carry interdimensional traumas that they not interdimensional, intergenerational traumas. There's still a lot of traumas being played out from the Holocaust. There's still a lot of things that we pick up from other things. So that can cause people to overreact. to want to take shortcuts, to do some of the things that usually turn out in difficult situations. But again, I try to look at it from a larger perspective and say, okay, we're here right now. We have this illusion of time. We think that the past is something that actually happened. We think that the future is just a potential. The past is only a memory. We only have right now. So what can we do with this moment now? That's and it's difficult to do because we all want to try and plan where we're going in the future. We all want to try and make life easier going forward. But the reality is we only have this moment now. In this moment now, everything's fine.
Mhm.
Everybody's just fine. So
Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Can you bring in the group and see if they
I
have a
sure can.
message for us?
I sure can. Give me just a couple seconds. Take some breaths and kind of step out of the way. Greetings, dear ones. We join you this day with great joy. For you see, we are in the presence of masters. You think of yourself as wanting to learn from us. You think of yourself as sitting at our feet. You have no idea of the larger aspect of things. Many of you have brought in very important crystals that you are placed on your path. When you find one of those crystals, take them and integrate them into your heart. Learn to do that any way you can. Learn to trust yourself. And that will allow you to hear spirit speaking to you, your own spirit. You see, you carry your spirit deep within your physical being, but only when you smile, when you experience joy, when you laugh, your spirit comes out and leads the way. Laughter is the language of angels, dear ones. We ask you to do it often. Many times your challenges come from taking life too seriously. We ask you to put yourself in the zone. Most of you are hyper creative. You've come in with incredible things to do. Do not concern yourself if you don't get all of them done. The idea is to enjoy every step of life. You're looking for the path. Most of you are looking for the path of least resistance. Many of you are looking for the path to get you to the highest vibration. We tell you sometimes, dear ones, you do not create the path until your foot almost hits the ground. Just enjoy it. Step forward. Claim your power as best you can. Know that you are never alone. And if you are quiet at times, we will speak to you. And we ask you not to give your power away. Don't give it to us. Don't give it to any single teacher. Let us instead reflect parts of you. Our greatest opportunity is if we can hold a mirror in front of you and show you your own magnificence. And rather than teach you something, to help you remember. That's the key of where you are at this moment. You are grand beings. We are honored to be in your presence. Most of you have come to be here at this very critical time on planet Earth. It's a time of change. It's a time of transition. And with that, we tell you the greatest angels that have ever lived are listening to this broadcast now. Take it. Enjoy this journey. Know that you are right on time and that all of Earth and all earthly beings, whether it be the bugs that are underneath the rock, whether it be the minerals of the rock itself, whether it be the trees, whether it be the other animals or the other humans, you work together as one. Hold hands and watch the miracles unfold. It's with the greatest of honor that we ask you to treat each other with respect of the highest nature. Nurture one another at every opportunity and play well together. I am the keeper of time, and I thank you for this opportunity. Spow.
We had the timekeeper. When the timekeeper came in, my whole body went, "Bzzz." It was just like, it felt like I was sitting on a vibration something, something. I mean, it just was like off the charts. How wonderful. So do you remember what the timekeeper said?
I do. Um, I'm not sure I could pull it all back up, especially in the order that they gave it to me. I was conscious. If you would have pinched me while I was doing that, I would say, ow,
Yeah.
or move away from you. I'm a conscious channel. I'm not an unconscious channel, but I lose the memory because for me, I'm so busy interpreting, trying to put this into a language that I don't always pay attention to exactly what's being said.
Mhm. Absolutely. What can somebody do to strengthen their own connection with their spirit guides?
Great question. Great question. Well, as I said, I think we all channel, we call it different things. The photographer sees an image and he wants to capture it. The painter tries to capture beauty in a different way. The musician does it differently. So we all have our first form of channeling. The first thing to do if you want to channel in the traditional way that I channel in words is to identify your first form of channeling and practice it as much as possible to gain trust in that. There's many ways of working with other forms of channeling, but it takes practice. And that's something we don't tend to do with spirituality. The group equates it to playing the piano. If you want to play the piano, you're going to drive your neighbors crazy for a little bit hitting the wrong notes. But if you start to channel and you interpret something incorrectly, you say, oh, I can't do this, and you stop doing it. We need to practice it. We need to allow ourselves to make some mistakes, to misinterpret things, to learn how to interpret and to translate into a different form. So that's one of the things about it. It's all about trust. In the beginning, it felt to me like I was making it up. I asked the group in the very beginning, I said, am I making this up? They said, yes, you are. Please continue. So that they basically have to come through my imagination centers to be able
Imagination
to
is
do that.
key.
Exactly.
I was just gonna say it involves imagination. Imagination is one of the key components to being able to do what I call woo-woo.
Yep.
Yeah. And woo in Taoism means source.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's
Yeah.
magical.
So
That's magical.
woo-woo, it
I love
encompasses
being
it
woo woo.
all. And plus it's fun, and we're supposed to have fun when we're doing this. And I
Exactly.
always say, yeah, that imagination is one of the main components that spirit uses to help communicate with us. Last question, why do we incarnate?
We incarnate for a lot of different reasons. The main aspect of this is that everything is in evolution. That which we call God, which is basically what the group says is unity consciousness, the first dimension, when we're all together, that is evolving. And the only way it can evolve is to little parts of it to become separate so that they can turn back and look at the whole. That's the whole purpose of the incarnation cycle. We also have a lot of people on the planet right now that are last timers. And basically, what that means is that they've worked and worked and worked and reincarnated, reincarnated, and reincarnated, and they're ready to move to the next level or the next experience or whatever that is. But they've fallen in love so much with planet Earth and all these difficult times that they knew we were going to have that they have reincarnated here now. And many of them are exhausted. So if you are a last timer, please breathe easy because we just want to tell you you've done an incredible job and we thank you for that.
How does somebody know they're a last timer?
It's just a feeling. They'll either know it or they won't, you know. And we'd all love to come back and reincarnate and experience the things we didn't experience before and be able to do that. And we can. We absolutely can.
And I hear from spirit that it's fun. They see this as fun, even if we're looking at it from a human perspective. We're going, fun? This is horrific.
Yeah,
What's fun about
exactly.
this? But they're saying, ooh,
Exactly.
how's Steve going to get out of this bind? What's he going to
That's right.
create? What's going to happen next? How's he going to evolve? And how's his spirit going to grow with this experience?
I
So,
totally agree. I
yeah,
totally agree.
yeah. You are remarkable, sir. My goodness.
Thank you.
Kudos to you for having the courage to step out of
Thank you.
your life as you knew it before you met the group and to really have the courage also to share their information and their wisdom with the world. My goodness, on a global scale, you're the first one I've ever met that channeled angels at the UN, for heaven's sakes. So, kudos to you. Thank you for the work
Thank you.
that you're doing, and thank you for bringing all of this to the forefront for those of us that are really in a position to receive the messages. And
It's
I
my
think
honor,
that
Julie.
it gives us the opportunity to lead by example for
Thank
those
you.
who aren't ready to receive this kind of information through this means anyways. How can people learn more about you and your work?
You can go to steverother.org. That's STEVEROTHER.org. And that'll set you up with everything you need right there.
And we'll have all of that in the show notes too. So in the meantime, everybody, we're sending you lots of love from Sweet Home, Alabama. Mwah! And from Nevada, too, where Steve is. We'll see you next time. To enhance your spiritual journey, click on one of the videos below and remember to subscribe, leave a comment, and share this episode with your family and friends.